You have creational power of what you are birthing in this world. And specifically within your relationship, just take a step back and actually look at, is the thing that we're creating together, is it life-giving? Is it of service? Is it really allowing the relational field to grow, to expand?
Welcome to the Boost School podcast,
A place we come to meet the mystery.
an invitation into our deepest, most intimate moments.
Behind the scenes conversations that have never been shared before.
Buckle up.
Enjoy the ride.
So today's episode is the kingdom. And I want to start by sharing that I feel like we're in school with like God and a bunch of angelic beings, and we're always learning and growing, but we're specifically like what we have learned, what we're living, what we're embodying, and what we're teaching about the kingdom. We're also in school ourselves. And so we're unpacking the secret sauce, the method to the madness, the blueprint, or our blueprint.
Yeah, I think one of the things that has been from the beginning of time, from the beginning of time since our love, we've always shown up in our relationship like it was school, like it was like the place where we go to learn, to unlearn, to
Say that again.
learn and to unlearn.
To unlearn.
To unlearn, to decondition, to unravel, to unwind, to unveil, to reveal. I think that we've treated our relationship like this beautiful field that is not just a reflective mirror, but a holographic experience of the unveiling of each other's souls and also the constant refinement and recalibration of who we're becoming together. And so, yes, bless the angels that surround us in the process and being held by God and by life itself. But I think that that's one of the things that I feel is so unique to you and I is we really meet that field. Like we really truly look at our relationship as master teacher, as this is the space that we go to pray, to play, to learn, to worship, to explore, to expand, to evolve. And, you know, it's everything. It's very full spectrum.
Yeah. And it's an interesting juxtaposition with learning and unlearning, and just the whole concept of education, or even people like us who are teaching things. The root of the word education is educe, or educere, and it means to draw out from within. And so there's this really interesting dance with learning in school and in life, where we are unlearning or connecting to our own innate wisdom, which is built into all of us. And then we have the use of all of these tools, techniques, teachers, philosophies, modalities, this gigantic infinite buffet that we can sample from of what other people are doing, what other people are saying. So it's interesting, you know, with our relationship and even what we have to share about the kingdom. And I think this is worth stating, is that our deepest intention is that we are awakening people to their own unique blueprint, right? To their own innate knowledge in the master teacher of their relationship. And we do so by sharing ourselves and hopefully inspiring people and giving more pointers and guidelines than directions.
Yeah, I remember the first time you shared that with me, and it shook me because so many reasons, but because education and so many relationships that we have, they feel like they're trying to mold us or fill in the blank instead of actually, you know, I really like the word reveal. And I like, you know, to draw out. When I think about that, I feel that so deeply from our relationship. And I feel like that's how all relationships should be. That's how all schools should be. It's not to fill in. It's not to mold or shape or condition. It's to decondition. It's to reveal. And something that we say pretty consistently is that our relationship and our union, it's here so that we can become together eternally. So becoming doesn't look like I'm trying to shape you into who I want you to be, but it is revealing what's always been there. It's revealing what's always underneath the surface. It's remembering
Hmm.
God's destiny for us. And yeah, I think that's something that we're excited to explore more of. We're always doing that with each other, but even in this podcast, that's why it's like there's such a mystery that we're here to meet the moment, to meet the aliveness of what's here to reveal instead of to inform.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, so we're both inspired for this episode, the theme of it to be the kingdom. And yeah, I would love to share with each other, like, what does that mean to you, the kingdom? Yeah, so to me, the kingdom, it's a state of being, you know. It's it starts with connection with God for me and with life, and then with that, I guess, the intelligence of God, and then the intelligence of my own soul. And so the kingdom to me is like everything that we really, really want at a core level. It is the kingdom of truth, the kingdom of love, the kingdom of joy, the kingdom of, our truest, fullest expression. And I see that as the kingdom of God. And to me, the kingdom is like this inner outer experience. There's the inner kingdom, which is the experience that's transcendent of all the things happening in the outer kingdom. And when the inner kingdom is dialed in, meaning when we're tuned into the inner kingdom, when we're present in that, and that's the priority, then the outer kingdom it extends from the inner kingdom. It's the expression of the inner kingdom. So there's more, but that's the beginning of what the kingdom means to me and why I love the quote, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else will be added on to you. Everything else works out better, easier. And in the context of relationship, I feel like our union, I relate to as the kingdom. And by our union, I mean the alchemy of our souls, the depth of our love, that point where we're connecting in our love, our mission, the uniqueness of us as individual souls. That's the base camp. That's the kingdom. That's the thing that's transcendent and untouched and unscathed by the world and by the voices of the world. It's the truth. It's the essence of our connection. So that's our kingdom. And then as you take our mission and our service and the purpose of our relationship and then extend it into the world through our service, be it our business or our art or how we be in the world together, that to me is the external kingdom. And how I really relate to everyone in relationship is divinely designed to be the king and the queen, or the queen and the queen of their own kingdom.
Or the king and the king.
Or the king and the king. We gotta make sure we're not leaving anybody out here.
It's your kingdom.
Right? And yeah, that throne analogy, I love it, because in that space where you're connected to your unique essence, and in relationship, the unique essence, the unique elixir, the unique music that only that relationship can produce, you are the sole authority on that. It is your responsibility. It is given to you to give to the world. And so in that sense, you are the king and the queen of that, or we like to say that assignment. Right? And that to me is where, as a couple looking at it through relationship, then we are anchored, at the throne of God, you could say, in the kingdom of heaven, and we can live fully in this world and give our gifts and build the kingdom in the world, but from the kingdom, this inner kingdom that is transcendent of the world. That.
That. Yeah. Thanks, babe. I feel, yeah. It's like every time we talk about it, I'm receiving more and more, and it's expanding more and more in my system. So there's so much happening, and I feel like for me, my experience of the kingdom, and I think what we're being invited into and what we've been living in, but also like what we're being invited into as a collective is, you know, there's this technology that exists inside of a union. I would call it a force field. And what happens when you come together as a, we'll use king and queen because that's our dynamic in our kingdom, is we create an entire world together. And within that world, there are so many beautiful offerings and energies. And it's like as we move through the world, right? As we move into the world, we are existing within the atmosphere of our universe, and nothing can get in and penetrate and affect or shift our world because our world is so strong. The force field, the technology, the field of our love. That's what I feel like the kingdom feels like to me is we build this kingdom that is ours. The more that we tend to it and we cultivate it and we refine it and we're tending to every single aspect of our kingdom. That's every facet of our relationship in our lives. Then the kingdom expands and it grows and it allows for this force field to become stronger. And that's why, there's not a lot of outside influences that influence us. Nothing influences us because we are influencing our relationship. We're influencing our kingdom powerfully.
And we're being influenced by God.
Yeah.
God, our souls, just that intelligent field, and responding to that, the calling that exists in that, right? And even this podcast is part of our kingdom because, like, on a personal level, you say, well, Chelsea and I, have the desire, the inspiration to create a podcast, and we have the reasons why to be of service, and then it just feels like a really powerful, fun way to serve. And this is also a calling, and a calling has a very unique texture. And so the fulfillment of that calling is also why I would say it's part of our kingdom, right?
Yeah. It's like, I think there are many couples that are being called into building a kingdom during this time. And they're still focused on either building their own personal individual kingdom, because that's a whole thing within itself. You could be in a relationship, but building your individual kingdom, and that's going to cause problems, right? Like you're not actually creating a shared kingdom together because you're trying to build your own empire that somebody else fits inside of.
We should say a little bit more about that, or I'd like to say more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because on the surface, it's like everyone's relationship is unique, which is part of the point, and it's going to be expressed differently, different gifts. But what I think is similar in all relationships is that, and this is just true about consciousness, we exist together, connected in a unified field of consciousness. Whether we're in physical contact with one another or not, we already are connected in consciousness. So in a relational field with another being, we're always connected anyway. And so even though I might be like, if I build my own empire over here, but we're still connected in this relational field, even if you're not helping me, you're not actively physically engaged in building my business with me, for example, the fact of the matter is whatever I'm doing is still inseparable from the field of the relationship, period. And so this is why there's so much unlocked potential, untapped potential existing within relationship, because some of these things that we're speaking about, like in building the kingdom, they're not required. It's not like something that you have to do. But to me, it's like you might as well, because you're in a field together anyway, right? So you might as well harness the power of the whole field, harmonize the power of the whole field, and direct that shared power to whatever is being created, whether it's my thing, your thing, or our thing. It becomes one thing.
Right. So thank you for that. Back to the field, the force field. And specifically, I will say this with like masculine, feminine dynamics and then energetics. There's a reason why we feel this deep, innate desire for love. There's a reason why we feel this call to create, to co-create, to literally give birth to life with another human being. it is in our DNA. It is like in every cell of our being to be in co-creation with one another, to be in collaboration, to build, to continue to expand and evolve this life as we know it. And so when we're in this force field and this creational field, it's utilizing and asking and inviting all of our gifts together to come together to create instead of just trying to build something by yourself, which I think we've been so conditioned to do. And I'm sure we'll do a whole other podcast on like sovereign, boss babe, feminine, or even in the masculine. It's like, you know, the where sovereignty actually starts to become a space of what was once a great gift can turn into something that will inhibit your evolution into union.
Yeah. And another way we talk about it is going from independence to interdependence into union, right? Which to me is getting deeper and deeper into this field of intimacy and transparency that already exists anyway, even if we don't allow it or step into it, you know? And so we can build together, we can build separate. We can even shoulder our burdens separately. That's so normalized in relationship. And again, what I'm saying is I think is interesting about that is like, if I'm going through something inside myself, like let's say a doubt or something like that, or some sort of pain in my heart, it's not that I have to share it with you or that you have to kind of shoulder that burden with me. But what I'm saying is it's in the field. It's still present. You're still connected. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think the other element that doesn't get spoken about enough is that when you're making love with somebody, you've
Exactly.
created a shared field. You are now merged with another human being, especially when you make love consistently and you're living together and you're building a life together, and like you become a shared field. You become a merged organism. Your union becomes its own living frequency and energy. And so if you are navigating something or you're trying to figure something out or you're moving through something internally, but you're not bringing it to the other person,
Or you're hiding
or you're
something,
hiding something, the other person can feel it.
which is what I'm saying. It's like the experience of being able to successfully hide something is that, just that. It's an experience. It's not a truth. What I'm saying is it's not in consciousness. You can't actually do that. And this is
Yeah.
why so many times, even in like infidelity, you'll have this sense, and looking back in hindsight, you'll be like, man, I did feel something. I did sense something. I did see a red flag. And for whatever reason, you're afraid, whatever, you ignored it. But that ability to sense is what I'm saying. It's like you can close your eyes and play hide and seek, but it doesn't mean that the information's not still present in the field.
The clearest thing here is how intimate are you willing to be with everything that's happening in the field? And, you know, for those of you that aren't in relationship, but you're listening to this and you want to be in relationship, I always like to remind and play with the imagination of what's it like to think that somebody is going to actually be able to feel everything that you're feeling, and they can feel and hear even the thoughts that you're having. Like to actually be the thing that we want the most, to be fully seen and loved and held and entirely witnessed by somebody, is
Is
also
the
the thing
thing
that
that
we
we
are most
fear the
afraid
most.
of. Yeah.
Right. That's just real.
It's like this, you know, deep duality of I want that so badly, but then when I talk to many women that I work with and they're like, "Oh my gosh, there's also this part of them that just wants to stay subconsciously single because they don't want to navigate somebody seeing every single part of their
How's
existence."
that been for you? Like if you were just like looking from the beginning, middle up to now, like how has your experience of that evolved?
It's been so healing. I think it's like a gift that I didn't even realize that I wanted or needed,
What is that specifically?
just to be loved and seen in every part of my existence, in like my dark, shadowy, messy, disgusting, addictive parts where I don't love myself, but I could look at you and you love me entirely, you know, or to have many times more than not you be more present with what's happening in my body and in my heart and in every part of my system, even when we're making love, it's like you feel sometimes more than I'm feeling and it's dropping me deeper in. And I've never had that before. Like, I feel like you sense and feel and see and experience everything that I'm experiencing. And we're so deeply connected. And that's, it's like when we talk about merging, it's like you're merging everything. You're merging thoughts, you're merging beliefs, you're merging ideas, you're merging your
Hmm.
dreams. And so it's such a responsibility to be in that merged field. But I would say it's been mostly healing. And yeah, to tie it all back to the kingdom, it's like your dreams are no longer just your dreams when you come into union with someone, and when God brings you into a relationship like this, you're now in a shared dream. Why has God brought us together? That's the question.
Right.
What are the shared gifts that we're here to merge? What are we here to create together? What are we here to birth together? And yeah, that's when you're really playing within the field of that and expanding the field of your love, I feel like there's so much there that is, as you said, like untapped potential, untapped resource. I really like this, like your relationship is your greatest resource. And
Hmm.
it's understanding and utilizing that and becoming aware of that instead of it being this thing that you come to when you have space or time or date night or this or that, like this thing that you're like, oh yeah, I put this over here, I put it on my schedule. It's like, no, your relationship is literally here to illuminate every single facet of your life. How intimate you're being, the fears that you're holding, whether you're meeting the edge with creating with God or not. It's like it's deep, 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 deep work. And it's constantly the reflection of, are you sitting on your throne or did you get knocked off?
Hmm. Yeah, I want to share a little bit more about like the cost of admission for the heavenly vision.
Yeah,
Because it's real.
it's very real.
I think it's worth just presencing the realness of it. And I say this with all like compassion and just radical honesty, is that it's easy to resonate with all of the heavenly experiences of being in union. The depth of intimacy, the velocity of pleasure and bliss and ecstasy that can flow when you're in such a deep state of union. But it's a very real thing to also admit and to be present to and honest with yourself about where that scares the shit out of you. I think that's a really important piece of the puzzle, to hold those at the same time. And that's what I jokingly, or what I mean by the cost of admission. The cost of admission of transparency, of deep intimacy, of union, to be able to bear the fruits, to reap the harvest, to be the recipient of all of the goodness. It's like annihilation sometimes. Annihilation of all the things that you hold, that hold you in separation, all the ways that we create separation inside of ourselves and between each other. You have to offer that up.
Yeah, and I think all of the ways that we've been conditioned, trained, born into either believing that we need to do it alone or that there's certain things that we hold internally. It can be there's so many moments where I'm holding something and I don't even realize it, and you're like, "Hey, what's happening? I feel like you're holding something right now," and it's just so beautiful. That's one of the gifts, is it's so beautiful to be in relationship with somebody who can see those things, but simultaneously it's very edgy, because if you have something that you don't want to look at, or if you have, a moment where you're just not wanting to be seen, it can be very edgy. And I think it's important to acknowledge that, because I think union and relationship and love, it can be very glorified. And what happens when we choose to come into these kinds of relationships is every single place that is still existing in separation inside of you, in your body, in your lineage, in your memory, in your nervous system, it becomes illuminated. And that is very intense, right? When you start to feel what that actually feels like, when you start to heal what that's felt like for your family. There's so many layers upon that. And so, yeah, entering and choosing to create the kingdom and a space within your relationship and a place that, only God can truly touch. It's deep, deep soul work, deep, deep to the bone, to the heart, to the root. It's getting down into all of the layers that nothing else in this world could touch. I think sometimes our relationship is like plant medicine times this, times that, times that. It's like people do all these psychedelics and therapies and all kinds of wild things to heal. And at the end of the day, the place that we heal the most is with these relationships, is through love.
Yes. How are you feeling, Boo?
Feeling good.
Feeling good?
I feel like I'm going all over the place like I normally do, but
That's okay.
my fractal feminine is like, bing!
Well, this is us being us. That's our intention.
True that.
Is to be ourselves. Yeah, I feel like the relationship between each other and everything we're talking about is mimicking our relationship with God. It's like God will unconditionally love us even when we're hiding. But if you imagine, like, God, you can't hide from God.
Yeah.
So it's like we're transparent even if we're being cute and acting like we can hide. And the thing is, we have free will. We're loved so much that we're able to try to hide, and we can actually create the experience as if we're cut off from God, even though we're not. So it just very much feels the same as being in union with another person. That field that I'm talking about that's transparent is like, well, just because you put your hands over your eyes or you hide in a corner doesn't mean that you can actually hide in consciousness. It's the same thing with God. And so I feel like some of the miraculous healing transformation that can happen when we surrender to God or we receive forgiveness, these things that open us, is the same invitation that happens in relationship.
Yeah. I just had this vision of when you finally start to touch on those edges, like the places that you don't want to touch, or the moment that you want to run. You're kind of getting out of the phase where it's like, oh, this has been so good and glorious and beautiful. And we've just been fucking every single day and night. And then like you start to get into the deeper layers of a relational field. And, we out here, we've seen so many breakups. There's like these seasons where people go through breakups. And it's just interesting because I feel like that point that you want to run away, that is the moment to stay and to actually see what's right there. Because deep union and love is not just the parts of, oh, here's like the beautiful, glorious lovemaking, fucking me open to God. Oh my gosh, the masculine and the feminine and all these things. Like, it's that, and simultaneously, we're literally here to heal the separation that exists. So the moment that you feel like you've hit up against an edge that you've never touched before, welcome to the actual initiation into union. Welcome to the point where you're dropping deeper into the relationship. Welcome to the point where you're being invited to now build the kingdom, to sit on the throne, to start to actually be a leader in the realm of your own relationship.
Amen. The outer kingdom, creation, is one of the places I feel like have been our most consistent initiation.
Ayo.
Right. And I want to start by saying that, again, it's like on the surface, it could just seem so simple and easy. Like, oh, you're brilliant and I'm brilliant. Take your gifts and my gifts, combine them, put them together, and we'll be, exponential. And the reality of the situation might play out differently, especially with big beings. And this is true in all relationships, but specifically in intimate divine union relationships, It's like you got two big beings who have big channels, who are sovereign beings, who are tuned in, tapped in, plugged in, who know themselves. I'm just trying to describe a level of a velocity of light and power, right? And what does it require, or what does it invite for you to be able to merge, expand? It's like you have to expand. I said this to you the other day. You have to expand. If you imagine the union, the relationship is its own vessel, just like you are your own vessel. You know, you could say your vessel, your channel. It's like how open your channel is like how much life, how much power, how much abundance can flow through you.
How much God can enter.
Right. It's this. So it's the same thing with relationships. So if you just imagine these big universes coming together, who are holding so much light, who are channeling so much light, or able to now come together and be something greater, it requires you to expand to be able to hold more light, because it's not just your light now. And that's where even the sovereignty of our independence, or our independence or sovereignty, can create a lid on how much. Is this not interesting to you?
No,
I think
I'm
it's like
so
it's like the
captivated.
I think it's been one of the biggest things for us. Going back, we'll just say even 2 years
I'm
ago.
super captivated.
2 years ago, just to give a little snapshot of where this journey began with creating together, creating content, creating a business together, creating a project together. Now that we're creating something together, we're bringing our spirits, our inspiration, our vision, our channel, essentially. And I think that's an important detail. It's different than like planting, something together in the garden. So initially, we had a lot of like friction, and it just seemed like it took effort.
Oh no,
to
straight up, I used to just fall asleep when we
Right.
would go into creative meetings, or I would start talking and I'd be like,
Yeah, you fall asleep being knocked out. I'm like, boo, where you at?
oh. And it is interesting because I'm sure from the outside looking in, it's like, but they've created so much together, and it's like,
It's all relative.
woo.
Yes. Yeah, but to me, that falling asleep, which is not happening these days, is that it's the vessel trying to expand.
Yeah, it's like there's so much energy and light, and now it's merging. And yeah, if you imagine that's totally it. It's like now you're creating, the kingdom. Now you're creating a shared vessel. It's bigger, and there's no end to how big it can expand. And so, especially with when you imagine the kinds of dreams, especially the kinds of dreams that we have and the things that we want to create, then the vessel, the container, the kingdom has to grow. It has to get bigger to hold not only the two big souls, but everything that we're saying, okay, we're ready. Okay, God, we're here to create this. We're ready for this. Where there's like been a deep conversation of me really wanting to have children and have a family. That's a whole now you're merging in another being.
Right.
That's three beings. That's three huge souls.
Right. Yeah, so I just love this conversation too, because it extends into all relationships, and I feel like it's part of human evolution, and where we're being invited to be in this unified field of creation more with each other, which is going to demand that some aspect of our identity or ego die to expand to be able to do so.
Yeah.
Right. And this is why a lot of like really powerful big beings don't co-create together, or only under certain conditions, or are very compartmentalized. It's like, now it's your turn, now it's my turn. Right. But yet deep, deep, deep down, we still crave, our soul also craves for this. What if we put this all together and expand it? Like that's essentially what happens if you truly have an orgasm. Right. And you truly let yourself get lost in this dissolution and merging. Right. You're like, oh my God, this is otherworldly. This is heavenly. This is the best thing ever. So it's the same, just using sex as an analogy. I'm just saying that to say that we desire it. It's just a very clear example of like, oh, wow, if we let ourselves dissolve into each other and into God and just into the field of love itself and passion, unbridled, uncontained, that requires a dissolution and annihilation of any place that you're holding on, any place that you're in control, any place where you're like, my needs versus your needs, me versus you, all of that gets annihilated in the fire to be able to receive that much light. So it's the same thing with co-creating.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I've probably navigated, and I think that a lot of women do, men too, but I think I'll speak for the women, is like, before Oren and I were together, I'd built a 7-figure business and like had all this success and
Hashtag boss babe.
like all these things that I had done, and
Hashtag I got this.
to be invited, it was almost like I always wanted to have just like something that I could hold on to in the background, just out of fear that like, what if I give everything that I have into this relationship and into this union and into this love and into what we're doing, and it just somewhere down the line doesn't work out, and then I have to start over again. And so it would almost be like we would like get to a certain point and it'd be like, okay, I'm ready. We're gonna go all in. I'm gonna give it up. And then like it would be so subconscious, but then in the background I'd be like working on like
Backup
another,
plan.
like, oh right, I'm still over here. Like it's so it was so subconscious. I'm grateful. I feel like it's cleared mostly out of my system at this point, but it was strong. That identity was strong in me and took a couple of years. Like this is, these are some of the things that we haven't talked about a ton publicly because this is like deep layers of refinement behind the scenes. But yeah, to truly give ourselves fully to our kingdom and what we're creating together. Yeah, you've got to dissolve everything else, even just for a moment, to see what's actually true. So it's like I had to obliterate everything in my business. I had to obliterate all the things that I thought I needed to create for me and all of these ideas that I had so that we could actually look and see and what's true here and what's true now and what's being called for in this moment.
Yeah, and just to give some honor and I guess relativity to this conversation is that every phase, like going from independence to interdependence to union, it's not that one's better than the other. It's just that if you imagine that it's your soul's evolution, essentially when it's time for you to phase shift from independence into interdependence, which is going to seem unnatural, like, why do I do that? Or I don't have to do that, or that's going to slow me down. It's because you are no longer really able to continue expanding into your full potential without merging into a state of being of interdependence with another. There's nothing wrong with independence. Independence is a phase.
It's a good phase.
It's a good phase. It's
It's
sovereignty.
necessary. It's like you go from codependence to independence to interdependence to union.
Right. And so that's the thing. And that's why, again, this is not a formula or it's not even a comparison. It's just to
And
say
it's
that
not bad to be in the independent, sovereign, getting your life, getting it all, getting your bag, But when you're like, oh, and I also want to come into deep union, but not just deep union where we create together.
Well, let's give some examples from our own relationship. There's a calling, right? And even a desire. Like with you and I very specifically, it would be like, this is a very tangible desire. You're like, okay, my life's, your life's amazing. You're killing it. You're doing your thing. But then you're like, I want to receive more. I want more ease. I want things that just come to me. I want to frolic in the garden.
I
It's
don't want
like,
to work so much.
right? It's like you're literally calling forth things that are going to require you to expand beyond your independence and the part of you that facilitates everything for yourself because you're capable of it. So I just want to say that this is something that we ask for. Either our souls are asking for. It's like it's time to evolve. If you want to keep rising, like you're going to have to deepen in interdependence and union in all of your relationships and in yourself. And if you're saying, I desire this, then it's requiring you to shift your identity. And that's why if you have an independent identity, for example, that has all these beliefs built into it, like I can do it, I should do it, whatever, fill in the blank, then at that point where your soul's calling for more or you're calling for more, it's not that you have to be in interdependence. It's just that that is the divinely orchestrated pathway of your expansion and the expansion of your vessel to be able to receive the very things that you're asking for. And that's why it won't work. And we've seen that in our relationship so many times where I'm like, babe, let me lead this, not because you can't, but because you literally maybe from many times have said, ooh, I want to receive more of this. So then if I'm coming to deliver it, but if you're on default of like, oh, I'll do this for myself, or I can do this, or, then that's a really real thing that happens and a very tangible way to understand it. You getting tired? What's going on?
I think anytime we talk about anything that is like a past memory, it's not currently like alive. I just, I'm such an experiential, sensational being that I'm like,
Living in the
and
story.
I'm feeling it in my body and it's happening and I'm remembering. So yeah, it's like, wow, I'm remembering how exhausting it was to be in that state.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Like more life comes into you when you, yeah, that's an incredible ability, by the way. It's why you're such a good storyteller.
Yeah, I feel things very deeply, whether they're happening right now
As
or
soon as you put your presence in them, you're just like embodiment.
yeah, it's a gift and can sometimes be a curse. Yeah, so I would say that's probably been behind the scenes one of our greatest initiations. I like that, initiations. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. When we're looking at relationships as their own blueprint, then we also look at them similar to the gene keys. And within the gene keys, if you really want to access the gift in the city, then you have to go through the shadows. And within relationships, it's understanding that Orrin and I having conflict or initiation and creating together is not an invitation not to create together. It's actually
Portal.
it's a portal and the place where you probably experience the most conflict or resistance or stickiness, that is the portal into some of your greatest gifts, whether you're in relationship or not. It's like you could probably trace and track that back through any kind of situation or experience in your life. But for us, it was like, oh, no. Like God has clearly called us here. This is not an invitation. The resistance is not an invitation to back down or step away or slow down. If anything, anytime I was like, maybe we should take a break and just take a break from creating together, it's like God just directs us right back to one another. It's like nothing else. It's like
I can't tell you how many
streamline.
times you said, "Oh, why does this feel hard?" And I'm like, "It feels hard because you're resisting and not because it's hard." It's actually, and through the resistance is the ease, the greater ease that you're asking for.
Yeah.
But the perception that it's harder because it feels harder is just something that's so powerful to be able to discern, And I just want to give a few examples because I think that's some of the juiciest
Examples are
stuff.
great.
One of the things historically is that like because we've stayed in so many Airbnbs when we're traveling, that you have taken the mantle, the lead on getting an Airbnb. And yet at the same time, you've both felt a mixture of inspiration in that and exhaustion. And the exhaustion is where the expansion is. The exhaustion is where if I was trusting and receiving, I actually don't want to do this right now. So this is what I mean. This is an example of like maybe in one phase of your life, it's like it's totally in the flow, it's inspired and it's life-giving and you're just like boom, boom, boom. But then through the contrast, through inspiration and through contrast, you were like, I actually don't want to do this. I want my life to be easier. I want it to be done for me. So then when the moment, here we go again, relive.
Oh, I'm getting tired just thinking about it again.
So then these moments would come and on the surface, they're like simple, harmless. And because you said, I want this done for me, and I said, great, then we are now using the power of our word and our consciousness to set a new flow. So then fast forward in the future, when it comes to the Airbnb time being, if you then default into just finding the Airbnb and doing it, which is not, and it's not coming from pure inspiration, from a field of pure abundance, this is just the greatest thing ever. This is what I want to do right now. And then how many times did that happen? And then we wind up in this weird random portal that
Oh, we're
and then
not.
we untangle.
We've learned our lessons with so many things. Because if we say one thing and then we move in a different direction, God is like slows us down like honey, like trying to move through
Like
molasses.
molasses.
Like you're just gonna slow down until you go in a different direction. It's like hilarious at this point, and we always know how to spot it when it's happening, but it's
And
like
and it's so impersonal, and that's one of the things I want to say. This is beyond judgment. It's divine intelligence at play.
divine
It's,
refinement for your divine assignment.
yes. And if you, it's not, it has nothing to do with being capable or not being capable. And I think that's why this type of expansion can challenge our egos.
I think
Do you know what I
that
mean? It's like, but I'm capable of
it's
doing
the
it myself.
identity. It's
I don't need a man, or I don't need you to do this, or I can do this. It's like,
it's
but
the
what wants to be
identity
done?
piece. Yeah,
Right.
it's the identity piece. And I think for me, there's so many different elements to it. One, it's like the thing I can control, the thing that I'm like, oh, I always have taken care of, like travel. I want to know where we're staying. I want to know that I'm going to love where we're staying.
I want to know that I'm safe.
I want to know that I'm safe. So like I always will be like, I'll just take care of logistics, but it's not because I don't think that you're capable. It's just because I feel like I could do it better. And
Well, you feel in control.
I feel like I'm in control. But
Right.
then because I don't actually want to be doing it, when I've booked tickets, when I've booked Airbnbs, then we end up there and it's like this weird experience because of how I felt energetically when I booked it. And it's
It's where you're coming from.
it's
And
the genesis. It's the genesis.
chapter 16, verse
It's the genesis.
18.
However, listen, this is really important. This is for us. I'm reminding myself, but also everyone else. The genesis, the energetic frequency in which you create whatever you are creating for yourself or within the field of your union, will inform the frequency and the experience of how it will be born into this world. So whether you're buying a ticket to travel, you're booking an Airbnb, you're building a course, you're recording a podcast, the energetic frequency is then transmitted into that entire experience, and it's strong. The genesis is so important. So we've learned that. We're still in refinement of it every now and then, and it's like that's why at this point we're like, oh no, we're not going to create anything. We've even had many conversations about the podcast itself where we were like, we're not going to get on and record until we feel like we're in the actual energetic of how we want to feel and what we want to transmit. Because we understand the genesis. What are we creating? What is the genesis of what we're offering into the world through what we are birthing together? I think too many couples, human beings, don't understand and realize that it's not just submitting to God, like, God, do this for me, I give this to you. It's understanding that you have creational power of what you are birthing in this world. And specifically within your relationship, I'm just going to say it. Too many couples are birthing and creating more chaos and destruction and turmoil in this world than they are birthing into life and into love and into, what we want to be seeing. And so it's like, just take a step back and actually look at, is the thing that we're creating together, is it life-giving? Is it of service? Is it fertile? Is it evolving? Is it really allowing the relational field to grow, to expand? Just went on a whole Genesis tangent about Airbnb tickets, but you get what I'm saying. It's about Airbnb. It could be a baby. It could be anything,
Yeah, I want to tell you, you feel me? Pastor Chelsea in the house. Yeah, I feel like tying this back into the kingdom and the assignment, your relationship is teaching something always to the world.
Always.
It's demonstrating something. It's emanating something. And the invitation here with honor and with responsibility, not with judgment and perfectionism, is just to really be present in that. I was going to say take it seriously, but just be present, whether we want to or not. Mm-hmm. our relationship is imprinting, it's teaching something, it is its own emanation. It's not just this thing where we're getting our needs met or just we do life together. And no, we are always, all of us in every relationship, there's a potential, a divine potential of every single relationship. And then there is a, what is that relationship communicating? What is it birthing? What is it teaching? What is it radiating? And that doesn't stop even if we're not present to it.
Tell us.
That to me is something that I hold with reverence. I hold with honor. You know, and when we say like you're the king and the queen, or the queen and the queen, or the king and the king, or whatever other combination of your kingdom, this is part of it. It's like what is your offering to the world? I think you hear this about this more in single relationships, just meaning like individuals, where it's like, oh, wow, me living my highest potential is an inspiration to my friends, to my family, to my community. It's in their best interest. I become a permission slip to inspire other people to also be themselves. Relationship, there's no different.
Well, it's the next level is, and can you do that with another human being? Because you know what? It's easy. It's easy to live your dreams and do whatever you want. Like when I think about like, oh, everything that you can build on your own, because you're navigating your own systems, beliefs and ideas and dreams. But then when you start to merge with another human being, again, it's expanding the vessel to hold the bigness of what wants to move through you both. And so, yeah, there's a responsibility in that. And it's understanding that you're not just craving to be in a relationship because you saw a romantic movie and you're like, oh, that was cute. I hope I fall in love like that. No, there's a reason why God brings you together. And there's a responsibility that exists inside of that relationship and that union. And it's not just intimate relationships. This is family. There's a reason why those children are born into your life. There's a reason why you have your mother and your father and your brother and your sister that you do. There's a reason why you have these friends in your life. There's a reason why you choose to work with certain clients. You can choose to be in union with all of life and with any relationship in certain, like in its own aspect and form. I felt this with you from the moment we met. It was like, oh, we have a legacy and a destiny and a mission together. And it's not like we ever just sat down like the first time we made love or anything and had that thought, but it was like I could feel it in you, like you were holding the sacredness and the sanctity of our love like it was the most important thing in the world. Like you were like, wow, I could feel that in you. It didn't even need to be spoken. And then it was spoken later on of, I think we're supposed to create together. Yeah, that feels really true.
Yeah, I was just thinking about actually Gray, you know, being a mom and staying in her space with her and her children, her 3 children, and how she's being with them. And I'm bringing that up to say that it's a frequency that we're talking about, and it may look different, right? The kingdom literally could be your home, right? But when you are in the kingdom in the way that we were speaking about it, when you're connected to your assignment, when you're living in the authenticity of your own assignment and your own alignment, even if you are a mother with 3 children and you're living in the same way that we're talking about, then that's the gift to the world. That's the mission being expressed. I think it's really important to not compare anyone. Like we are artists and we build courses and we speak. These are things that are uniquely coded to us and our souls.
Yeah, just to speak, Gray's like my aunt that we're staying with right now. And, you know, she's like given some serious mama codes. I'm like in
She's in it,
awe.
right?
But she's so devoted. Like the level to which this woman is mothering is so incredible. She's creating her relationship with her children. She has her kingdom. And I really appreciate you bringing that up because I think that, you know, one of the most important things is understanding that every moment of your life is the assignment. It's not once you get to a certain place, once you get into the house, once you get into the relationship, like your divine assignment is right now. It's every moment, and it's every moment that God's inviting you into. And whether that's like us, where we're creating a podcast or a course or whatever we're birthing into this world, you're being called into this moment of what you're creating, and it's understanding that you are creating every single moment. So every moment is the assignment. It's not big or small. It's just knowing that the genesis, the frequency, the creational field of what you were birthing in relationship with life, that is the most important thing. That is the kingdom that we're talking about. It is bridging, it is bringing heaven to earth by choosing to allow God to pour through you in every moment so that there is no separation. It's not some kind of thing that is existing far away. It's right here.
Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. I love that. I love how we could hear the kids as soon as we started speaking about it. It's like, and there they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really appreciate the way you tied that together. It's so beautiful. And it's the invitation for all of us to be in divine union with ourselves, with each other, with life, with God, and to fulfill whatever that unique destiny is, that unique calling is. And to me, whatever that looks like expressed in the physical world through expression, whatever is getting built, when it carries that authenticity, when it carries that is coming from that calling in that place, then to me that's like as above so below, the kingdom, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. It's how we connect the dimensions and bring the quote unquote heavenly dimensions to the earth.
I really loved how you shared with me the other day how when you used to go have coffee or meet for lunch, you would tell yourself, this is going to be the best lunch ever. Or before you would get on a client call,
Yeah.
you would tell yourself, this is going to be the best client call ever. And
I wouldn't even just tell myself that. It
it
was
was like you
like,
knew it.
well, I knew it. It felt like a knowing, but it's like an intention. It's a verbal accepting of the assignment.
Right.
Right. And by the assignment, it's like, how would we be? What would we give? What would we allow to flow out of us and into us if we're fully surrendered to love? And if we're fully surrendered to truth and our own truth, like that's us being a vessel, right? And so stating something like what I said was that, I would go like have coffee with a friend or something like that. And my intention would be to be love. And the way that I would express that sometimes is like, this is going to be the absolute best experience of our lives. So that's who I'm being now as I show up. I'm like, this is going to be fucking amazing versus like, maybe we'll see how it is. And so it's interesting because yes, there's an openness to the mystery and a surrender to whatever it's going to be. But it was just such a good, almost like an exercise, especially when I first started doing it, to just be like, okay, I'm creating myself and I'm creating this person. I'm creating the experience just as much as I'm stepping into it. So I'm like, it could be anything. We're going to spend the time and the energy anyway. So why not let it be the best thing? Why not treat it like this person's the last person I'm going to speak to
It's
on
the
earth?
most important moment.
Why not? And what I'm saying is, and this is a tall order, I will admit that, but it doesn't mean it's not the truth. It's like, it's always the invitation with your children, with your spouse, with your, you know what I mean?
Well, and here's the thing is you live that way. You treat me that way. You treat our relationship that way. And you
Thanks, boo.
command that I treat you that way. And sometimes it's edgy for me because I want to check out or I don't want to be present or I want to just, this happened today where I'm like, can I just be a human? I don't want to be present right now. And you're like, yeah, great. Well, then you're not going to engage with me, and
You like,
that's not what you said.
you gotta work on your storytelling
hold
and
on,
how it felt inside versus what I actually said.
We'll come back to the story, but I just want to celebrate you because you live that way. You live,
Thank you.
you truly treat every moment within our relationship as a miraculous moment and as a moment of creation. And it took me such a long time. It took me like up until a month ago to realize that every time you were like, I just want to create. What can we create? Let's create something. I'm like, what do you want to create too much? You want to create another course? What do you want to create? And you were like, no, babe, like, I just want to create the moment together. I just want to create life together. And I was like, oh, it like finally hit me where I was like, wow, this man genuinely just wants to be in a creational field of, wow, what is it like to be awake in the dream together in every single
And
moment?
you know what? Like, kids are naturally like that.
I know.
They whether they have the sophisticated spiritual language like I do and say presence, which they don't, or they just are engaging with you energetically, like be present, be here. Don't act like you're here when you're not here.
Oh,
Do you
totally.
know what I mean? And so I receive it. I receive the compliment. Thank you for that. And just to say a little bit more about that, like what's going on inside me is that it's it's literally how it feels sometimes is that, like I said, truth is always present, whether or not we're accepting it or not. But it feels like when you say something to me, if I'm like, oh, share with me, the thing that you made, and I'm sharing my heart, I'm sharing my enthusiasm. And if you say to me, you start listening to me, and then I feel like you're not there, and I'm like, oh, hey, are you here? And you say, yeah, I'm listening. It literally, if I agree with that, I literally feel like I'm lying. That's how it feels. I'm like, this is not, it's not even like I have a judgment or an opinion about it. It literally just feels like this isn't true.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to unsee that. If I'm just seeing, I'm like, this does not feel true. And if you're acting, even if it's innocent and unconscious, which sometimes it is, it doesn't mean that I should start acting. Because as soon as I do,
Yeah.
then literally, if I'm like, cool, let me share, I literally feel my energy draining. So it's not even like, so I get how that commands presence. And sometimes I am literally commanding presence, but sometimes I'm literally just being one with truth.
I think thank you for that. And I can say this in this moment. I love that about you. And in the moment that it happens, it's very confronting because it's very illuminating of the parts of me that are willing to settle and not be fully present with myself or with life or with whatever's happening and feel like distracted. And it's interesting. It's, usually it's the other way around. I think most women navigate their partners, men not
Right.
being present. And it's definitely flipped for us where you are the most present all the time. Like all the time.
And just to be
All the time.
just to be clear of the integrity here is that if you say I'm not present or I want you to be more present in our relationship, and this helps that I don't have judgment on myself, I'm gonna be truthful. If you're right, I'm not gonna be like, oh well, I'm busy at work or it's because of this. It's just like step one. Okay, right. Yeah. I can be more present. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But to me, that's honesty is what I'm saying. It's just, you could call it spiritual and we unpack it like, spiritual scientists here, but it's actually just, it's very childlike in a sense. It's just being honest, and I think because I also have compassion on myself, I'm not saying, well, I should be. So the other honesty or intimacy, like if it's reversed, that I might bring to the table and be like, I might share not an excuse, but share like why I'm being challenged with being present. You see, now that's intimacy, that's vulnerability. We can connect. And when that happens, your heart is going to feel good about that, even if I haven't like mastered presence yet. So that's why with you, if you're not present and you're also not intimate and you're not honest and you're not vulnerable, do you know what I mean? It's literally like you're asking me to agree
With a
to
lie.
co-sign on a lie.
Yeah, which then creates, I think this, when we look at relationships, it creates an unconscious agreement that you're both okay with that. And
Right.
that then
Unconscious
you're,
relationship agreements.
we
Oh my
we'll
God.
probably do a whole podcast
That's
on
a
that
whole
one
episode.
because there's so many layers.
Unconscious agreements
That then coming back to the relational field, every decision and agreement that you make in a relationship and how you choose to show up inside of the relationship creates the relational field. It creates that force field that I was talking about in the beginning. So if Oren were to agree that I was being present when I wasn't, then we would then be in this unconscious agreement that we're both okay with that. And then it just would continue and deepen.
And then it lowers the level of connection, intimacy, power, capacity to create, fulfillment, pleasure, magnetism, health, wealth. Like that's a word.
No, I'm hearing you, and I feel like it's why there's a lot of fogginess in relational fields because there's a lot of unconscious agreements. And so, yeah, coming back, it's like all the way back to building your kingdom is the responsibility of understanding that you are creating your relational template all the time by how you choose to love one another, what you choose to agree upon, by what you choose to say yes to, by how intimate you choose to be, by how you navigate moments of conflict, by every single thing, your thoughts about one another, your thoughts about the relationship. Y'all, there's like, again, so many layers upon layers within this, but just understanding the sacred responsibility that it is to be in relationship and to build the kingdom. And again, if you're not in relationship and you're listening, beautiful. You can be cultivating this within your own life, within yourself, and with your relationship with God, building your own kingdom, choosing to be really clear with, wow, what are the unconscious agreements that I'm in with myself? Like, where am I just not being fully present with myself? Where am I scrolling when I say I want to be more present? Where am I not giving myself
Right.
fully to this thing that I say I want to give myself to?
Yeah, and if something comes up, like some pattern or some unconscious thing, then give that as an offering to the field of love.
Ooh, we like to do that. That's yeah, one
And,
of
and that's why it's not a problem. That's the other,
it's not a
one of our
problem.
teachings. When we say it's not a problem, it's a portal. Genuinely, it's like if you recognize in yourself or in your partner some shadow, some unconscious thing, some unconscious agreement, then that's going to still be the same invitation that's always eternally present, the invitation to love, the invitation to truth, the invitation to God, the invitation to union. And that's the simplicity of it.
I think we should do the next podcast on that. It's not a problem, it's a portal.
Yeah.
This is again, it's so deep and there's so many gifts in that one, and I I love that one so much.
And also, what's evident in what we're saying here is that we're always creating each other, and that we could do a whole podcast just on that. But like, when you realize that, if you don't realize it, then there is a certain level of innocence. But as you realize something, as you become awake to something inside yourself and inside the relationship, then it becomes more of a responsibility because you have a choice. And so realizing that, just use this agreement thing, for example, if I were to agree with you on a lie and I'm consciously doing that, then I'm creating you and I'm creating myself. I'm literally setting a lid on our relationship. That's an act of creation. It's not passive. It's not like, oh, it's harmless, it's innocent. Yeah, I'll just agree. You know what I mean? I'll just sign here to avoid feeling uncomfortable. You literally, I'm creating you. And in this sense, it would be like as if to say that you're not capable of connecting the truth. I think that that's one of the, again, I say this with compassion because this is a tall order, but like we're always being called into it to see God in one another, to see truth, to see the innocence of something in ourselves and in the other. And that's the thing. This is not about perfection. This is not about, you know what I mean, like making this something complicated. If anything, it's about surrendering to what we're saying. It's about saying, God, we give ourselves to this, all of these like true north signals of the relationship, the union, the mission, the truth, the love, the code, whatever. It's like when we give ourselves fully to that, and this is another teaching of ours, crisis to creation, then now we're anchoring ourselves in that field of creation. So then when something comes up, it guides us on how we can respond to it. And that's why these moments become portals back to love, back to union again. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Whew, so many good things. And I think the creational aspect, like when I think even about kingdom, and I feel like this will be a beautiful start to make the descent and journey home. Yep. Just feeling the descent home to wrap this all up. When we think about kingdom and king and queen, these words get thrown around. Really, it's like queen, king, he's my king. I'm looking for my king. She's a queen. I'm a queen. Queen, honor, bow down to the queen. But if you are not actually acting and living and embodying king and queen and everything that we're talking about in this podcast, that's the responsibility. It's treating yourself and your life and everything that you are creating from that space of understanding that it is your life, your relationships, everything that you touch is your kingdom. And are you truly meeting every moment as the divine assignment from God? Or are you just allowing life to throw you around, but then calling yourself a queen and begging for a king? You would not be. I promise you, queens don't beg for kings.
Queens don't shop in their own queendom, because they own everything. Everything's already theirs.
Yeah. So it's a good reflection of, these words that we use. When we say kingdom, we're really speaking about bringing heaven to the earth through your life, through your love. We're speaking about owning, and if you're gonna place yourself on a throne, be sure that you're ready for the responsibility that comes with sitting on that throne. If you're out here praying for a union or a love and that king or that queen, prepare yourself, expand your container, your heart, your vessel, your being, because merging with another human being requires so much presence and awareness to merge powerfully, to merge with another being, but still hold on to all of the gifts, like that, to still express so powerfully the individual gifts that you have, to not lose yourself all the way. What's your quote? I like your quote that you say.
You don't lose yourself in divine union, you become more of yourself. So you don't lose, these are all things that we've all experienced and that can happen, but it's not a truth. Like the fear is, I'm going to lose my voice, I'm going to lose my sovereignty, I'm going to lose my power, I'm going to have to let go of some of my desires. It's the same fear we have with God, by the way. If I give myself fully to God, what if his desires are different than mine? What if I can't have the man that I want? What if I'm going to lose something? And you don't lose yourself. You only expand and become more of yourself. But that doesn't mean, like, in the process, you might, just like learning to ride a bike, you might not get out of balance and be like, oh my God, I gave my voice away. But it just demands truth. That then becomes the thing that brings you back into balance. So we're not saying you can't get thrown out of balance, or
That's actually the gift.
give your power away. These are the things we're afraid to do, but all I'm saying is that that's always a signal that we're not in truth.
Yeah.
It's not that being in union means you lost your voice or anything like that.
Yeah.
It means that it's highlighting something unconscious to you, that
Yeah.
you're not actually being in truth. So yeah, you only become more of yourself in
Yeah.
union.
Yep. And that's what choosing to, come into queendom, to kingdom, to creating a kingdom with your partner. That's what it calls for.
And I would add to that again, or reiterate, it's more devotion than anything. And I think that's important to say so we don't get into a perfectionist spiritual idea of this.
Perfectionist has
You know
no
what I mean?
place here.
It's not like you like, oh, this is what a king is, this is what a queen is, and it's like this solid finite
Or this
thing.
is what union
Or
looks
this is what a
like.
kingdom is. The clearest thing I can say is it's a devotion. And your devotion, like in my experience, it deepens and deepens and deepens. Your devotion to God, your devotion to the union, to the relationship, to the kingdom, to the point where you want nothing else. Right? It's like that Rumi quote, I once had 1,000 desires. And in my one desire to know you, all other desires melted away. To me, it's like that's the quality of the energy. And so then when you're not being a king or a queen, then your course correction is being guided by that devotion. It's like, I'm going in that direction. It's more that than it is like, you've arrived, congratulations, you're a king and a queen.
And it's deepening. It's the eternal becoming together. So it's deepening and understanding that just because you've sat at the throne, there's a continual evolution of what that looks like. And if you get knocked off, or if you feel like you're meeting up against another initiation or something's happening, that's just a invitation to refine, to deepen, to meet more of yourself, to meet more of your partner, to meet more of God. Again, it's a portal, not a problem, and we'll get into that very soon. So there's so many gifts in this, and I would say, we've been out here deeply, deeply intentionally building our kingdom. And this podcast is one of those things to really ask, what is it that we're here to give and to gift and to offer into the world? And, God, yes, what is your destiny for us?
My closing thought is, well, two things. One, I remember Richard Rudd saying that relationships only thrive in 100% commitment. And 99% committed is the same as 1% committed. And the difference maker that it makes when you're all in and you're devoted, and the level of ease and grace that can be added to your challenges, I think many times is just a function of you being all in. A lot of the stress and the tension
Woo!
is coming from not being all in and being half-hearted.
Preach.
So,
Spitting truth.
I think it's one of the reasons why we don't really fight and we don't have prolonged processes, is because we want the same thing. At the end of the day, is like we want the truth. We
We're
want the
both
union.
all in.
We're all in. So it's like, however we get there, we are getting there. There is only there, and that's that.
Yeah. And anytime we have conflict, it's usually because one of us, usually me, has stepped out of the all-inness.
Right, and kind of like straddling the fence,
like,
or kind of here, kind of there.
But it's very rare.
Yeah.
It's usually subconscious. So thank you. I love that.
Yeah.
100%. So good, boo.
Yeah. Love you.
Love you.
I'm excited for people. I'm excited for you watching, listening, and the gift that your union, or if you're not physically in the union yet, you're still in a union, the gift that your union is bringing to this world, essential to the planet at this time in our evolution, that we come into deep devotional union with each other.
Yes. So we love you. And if you love this episode, like, subscribe, do all the things, leave us
Share.
some feedback, share it with your lover, with your brother, with your sister, with your mister, with your mother. We got more to come. There's going to be, just more and more and more. We're so excited to continue creating this delicious experience together.